Money is one of the trickiest subjects in business. Well, in life really. And it is the thing that has caused me the biggest headaches in my business and the biggest struggles. So today I want to share with you 7 money tips so that you can avoid some of the headaches I've experienced when running my personal concierge business. So my first tip for you is to get clear. So I want you to be really clear what you're charging, how it works, when you expect payment, all those terms. Be really clear yourself and then ensure that your clients are super clear about that information. So we use a client agreement form. I've got that available. You can download that from a few different places. I'll link that below in the description. But we have a client agreement form that clearly explains what we charge, when those charges are relevant, if we have any out of hours charges, how it works for making purchases on the client's behalf, travel charges, etc., etc. It is all there on a form that all clients must read and sign before we start with them. So it is always super clear for us and the clients what the money stuff is all about. Now, tip number 2 is to make sure that any purchases are in the client's name. So I learnt this the hard way, but what I'm referring to is any kind of big purchases. So obviously you go to a grocery store and it's a receipt from the supermarket. That's different. But say you're purchasing a television on their behalf. This is what happened with me. Or you are purchasing a service or booking a service for them that needs to have an invoice sent through. Always make sure that the client's name or the client's company is on that invoice, on that quote, on any documents. You can say care of your address or care of your name, or the billing address is your name or your email address, but always make sure that the client's name is on those documents to ensure that they are responsible for making payment on that invoice, on that product, so that if there's ever any issues, any delay in getting payment, it is the client who will be chased for that money, not you. Now, this isn't a foolproof option, but it is a great tip to just make sure that you've got everything clear and that the client and the supplier are clear who this purchase is being made on behalf of. My third tip for you is to get the money up front. So that can mean a lot of different things, but if you're making regular purchases for your client, like weekly grocery shopping or dry cleaning pickup, a lot of our clients transfer money directly into our account so that we always have money from them in credit to use for those purchases. Your client may provide you with a credit card to use or some sort of cash card, debit card type situation. Sometimes we will get the client to make payment on the invoice direct. It all depends on our arrangement with our client, but the invoice might get sent to us and we forward that straight on to the client to make payment on that invoice. So just make sure that you are not forking out for your client's purchases. Now, sometimes that's unavoidable, but if you've got a regular client that you are in touch with, you trust, and you need to make a quick purchase on their behalf, you can go ahead and do that at your discretion, knowing that that's going to get paid without a fuss and quickly for you. But the general rule is get paid upfront for any purchases you're making for your clients. Tip number 4 is to keep your receipts. This is just good business practice, but a lot of us kind of just ignore that or forget, or we might toss them in our car and not file them away. So always keep your receipts. It's great for your accounting. You need to do this. Often you're having to make returns on behalf of your clients, or they might have a question or a query about something you purchased. And also it might be that they go, do you remember that thing that you bought for me back, in 2020 for $15? You can try and, go back through your bookkeeping, through your receipts, and you've always got that ready. But it's also a great proof of purchase for the client so that they know that you've made that purchase for them, and they may need that receipt for their own record keeping depending on what you've purchased for them. Okay, tip number 5 is going to seem a bit obvious, but it's amazing how many people don't follow through on this. And it is send the invoice. Now, in business, you're usually going to send the invoice eventually. But my big tip for you is just to send the invoice straight away, or as quickly as you can. You might have a routine in how you invoice. I encourage you to invoice weekly or fortnightly if you can to any clients. But don't forget to send the invoice. Don't delay. It's really bad for cash flow. It makes clients feel a lot more comfortable and confident in your processes. If they're not quite sure when they received an invoice for you or when they're going to receive one from you, they may feel a bit, uncomfortable or out of sorts. Do it regularly. Always send it. Don't be afraid to send it to your client. Don't hesitate. You have been engaged for a service. That's what clients are paying you for, and they want to pay you for the service that you're providing. You need to look after yourself, your cash flow, your business profits. So just don't be afraid to send that invoice regularly and quickly. My tip number 6 is to speak to your accountant. Now, I'm not a big one for going and spending lots of money on lots of different professional services because you think that that's what you need to do to be a real business. But I do think you need to be in touch with your accountant. It could just be a yearly meeting. It could be some emails. Just keep in touch with them. Any questions that you're not sure of, run it past them. Yes, there might be a fee involved for a quick email question. Make sure you're clear with your accountant on what their billing is and how it all works. But at the very least, book in an annual, hourly or 2-hourly appointment with your accountant just to go through things with them. There's lots of things that you may not be clear on, you may not understand, and it's your opportunity to pick their brain. And it's funny, the things that come up that can make your life easier, that can save you money, all because you've just taken that time to catch up with your accountant. And my final tip for you is often one of the hardest ones, but I want to make it easy for you, and it is get money out of the way. So get that money conversation out of the way as soon as you can with your clients. Now, I'm a big one for putting pricing on our websites as much as possible. It all depends on your pricing model and your structure. And if you have too many pricing variations, then maybe it's not a good idea to put it on your website. But if you can, then you've got that information out of the way straight up. And then when you're meeting with a client, whether it's on the phone or in person, I always try to get that money stuff out of the way up front, because when you're sitting with a client, they're thinking about all the services that they might want to engage you for. If you haven't had that money conversation with them, it's always in the back of their mind, oh, I'm wanting them to do all of this stuff, but how much is this going to cost? What is realistic? Is this going to get too expensive? And so if you haven't had that money conversation at the start and explain how it all works and how it costs, then they might be hesitating. They might be holding back. They may be unsure of exactly how they want to use you. So get that awkward stuff out of the way up front. And I say to them, look, I like to just cover off on the money side of things first. So can we just chat through the pricing and how it works? And then we can go through how we might be able to help you. So they're my 7 money tips. I could share a few more with you, but they're the most important ones, the things that have possibly caused me more headaches than any others. So I wanted to share those with you. If you've got any tips of your own, please comment below. Or if you've got questions about how to manage the money and the financial side of a personal concierge business, please pop your question below and I will do my best to answer them. And I might even create a video on that topic.